How do we preserve the power of our prayer when we are dunked in a soup of daily life? How do we keep ourselves charged up and not getting drained by other people's stuff or getting pulled into our own stuff? It takes practice and it requires, of course, this daily experience so that you can learn the dance of staying plugged in to the point where you can be energized and not just survive. So let me talk you through this and what it looks like. If your day-to-day activities keep you in a state of fear, we are not able to pray from a place of strength. The spiritual energy that we're bringing in through our prayers that's designed to give us our life force and our vitality and a lift off and a sense of well-being, this gets completely rerouted into just managing our fear. When we're functioning in high states of chaos or disorder, drama, if we're in toxic, dangerous, or violent environments, our energy is getting absorbed into keeping us safe and we get stuck in survival mode. Now those fluctuations of how much of survival mode are going to be different for each person, but the longer you stay there, it does start to affect your self-esteem. Because part of us doesn't know why we can't get out of this endless loop of stuff we don't want. And another part of us says, I know that I can figure this out, but I'm unable to, and we get frustrated. So if you find that you are stuck in these reoccurring patterns, there's a good chance it's because your power is getting leaked into the arguments, to defending yourself all day, to pretending you're fine, to protecting your pain, or suppressing your sorrow and anger, or avoiding your feelings, or avoiding things you don't want to deal with. When we are in environments that make us survive, we again go into this untethered hope. We're not tethered, we're not anchored to the belief that something and someone out there bigger than ourselves is looking over us. We're in a state of, I hope they're there. I'm going to pray and I'm going to hope, but we are not in a space of trust and knowing. And we can't get there because of our lovely chemical soup. So when you're powering up just enough to get through, you will never really feel that sense of well-being. This is because your prayers can't build any momentum. The minute they enter, their full energy is sucked into the soup of life game. So when you're in this state, what happens is you lose track of what you're praying for. Your circumstances have intercepted your prayers, and it's changing the intention behind them. You think you're praying for empowerment to become your true self. But in reality, because you are praying from a place of survival, your prayer is really, God, please don't let me feel powerless. That's a different prayer. You might think you are praying to become your higher self, but truthfully, you're just praying. Remember, the voice that screams the loudest is saying, God, get me out of this pain. That's different than healing me. Fix me is different than heal me. So even though we are trying to get to higher vibrations of happiness, we can find ourselves stuck in this abyss of getting by. And this mentally makes us go crazy because we feel stuck and we can't figure out why we're stuck. We are in relationships that are demolishing our self-confidence, and we're not sure if we can stand on our own, so we keep seeking them because we haven't felt like we trust God yet or the divine presence. We can stay in work environments that slowly kill us because we're not sure if we can find anything else because we're not confident that the divine presence really has our back. We can hang on to the past, thinking that if we sift through everything we did and try to figure out how not to do it, that maybe we'll get some wisdom. We can stay stuck in our low vibrations and stop dreaming. We can convince ourselves that we have no choices other than what's in front of us. And this is because our momentum, our prayer momentum, our power pulse momentum is lost in the fog. We slowly go unconscious because we are never able to access the true power of our prayer. We can't get to that reservoir that propels us out of our stuff. And the patterns keep us fighting for ways just to stay positive. So to stop the leaks, you've got to address the parts of you that are on autopilot. The parts of you that continue to beg God to breathe life into a situation you don't want anymore. You're going to have to understand things are going to have to change if you want your life to change. You can't hold on to what's not working and hope that you can build a new life. It doesn't work that way. And prayer is what is meant to give you the ability to make that transition. It's the light in the dark hallway as you pass from what was to what is becoming. So until you are willing to commit to this daily practice, this daily support system, there's a good chance you're going to value your relationship with fear more than you do with your divine presence. So if you want to manifest the things that are truly your heart's desire and not your fear's heart desire, you're going to have to change the contents of the packages you're getting. And if you are willing to pray from a place asking for growth and healing versus fix me and rescue me, your life experience is not going to have the opportunity to change. Because remember, the promise is if you call, I will answer. And if you say, get me through, you are going to have a life of get me through. The prayer will be answered. And you will not understand how to ask for more. So enter this next space of prayer in this soul chamber, being clear about what you're praying for and where you are praying from. And be aware that you can leak out all of this power if you are plopping yourself in environments that drain you of all of your spiritual energy. Cute story. Two travelers went to the mountains, and when they crossed the halfway point, the beginner looked at the overgrowth and began to complain. And where is all this beautiful scenery you've been promising me? And the experienced companion smiles gently and he says, you're in the center of it, of which you're going to be convinced when we reach the top of the mountain. Spiritual perspective is how we make sense of everything that we can't make sense of. It is the detangling device for our mind. Some things aren't going to make sense because when things are in transition, they are too unstable to pin on a map. We have to allow things to continually adjust and evolve until they feel right. And then this process becomes very familiar to us the more we do it. We hear a lot about this concept of praying and acting as if your prayers have been answered, but I don't know if you're like me. This seemed like a conundrum. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what that meant. It sounded great, and boy, I admired anybody who claimed that they could do it. But as far as the steps, there weren't any clear steps that I could find. So in my meditations, I really asked for clarity about this, and this is what was presented to me. Acting as if your prayers have been answered requires a new set of skills. It requires the ability to see the end in mind. And what happens most often is that our fear doesn't allow us to do this. It doesn't want us to imagine a great future. It doesn't want us to get into the feelings of feeling good because it is so terrified of being disappointed. It has a deep fear of hoping. And so it just kind of keeps us in this murky space of having a greater desire for our life to change, but also part of us not wanting it to change because we're not sure if we can figure it out. And that not sure if we can figure it out part is what keeps us stuck. It keeps us in those grooves that we have ingrained in our record of life, and these patterns and these processes and these triggers, and it just keeps going in a loop. But in order to break out of it, in order to be able to envision what you want coming into your life, it's beyond intention setting, it's beyond manifesting from, cue cards and just mantras and things like this. You have to manifest with your emotions. And this takes some deprogramming on the way that we are used to processing our life experience. So to get your heart and mind working together, obviously you need that intermediary of prayer. You need that substance that is the glue that brings the heart and the mind together. You need the ability to see your life from a bigger perspective, and the only way to do that is to hold your fear in a state of prayer and give it the opportunity to relax and to stop holding your mind as a prisoner to your future. As you learn to wrap yourself in prayer, your fear slowly loses its power. It starts to melt, it starts to dissipate, and it starts to transform into something that is empowering. It starts to take on new roles. It starts to change its scripts. It starts to require different things from you. Now it starts to teach you to be fearful when you're out of alignment. Now it's teaching you that when you sense a feeling of fear, it just is an indicator that you need to pray. It starts meaning different things the higher levels you go. And in order to see and experience the life that you want, you have to be able to feel it. You have to be able to envision it, to walk through the doors of the house that you want, to smell the flowers as you enter, to feel the floor under your feet, to see the windows that are in the house, to open the drawers and see all your silverware in there and your dishwasher and your backyard. I mean, you have to be able to experience it with your 5 senses, experience it with your spiritual senses of your 6th sensory experience, and then it shows up.